because, Michael, what a Week 13 it was. But unfortunately, quarterback injuries ended up stealing the headlines. And we saw one in Santa Clara. Despite the 33-17 victory for the 49ers, they went on the field, but ultimately they might lose long-term after losing Jimmy G to a broken foot.
Yeah, before we get on the Jimmy G talk, what are you going to do with your MVP Tua ticket? Are you going to hang on to it?
Hey, I never bet him, buddy.
I thought for sure you were at that window. I thought for sure you were coming down that pike hard. I thought you were on Route 9. I thought you were all over that one. Here I am. Put me in for one of those bad boys. Huh? No?
I never
don't have one?
I missed all the big numbers, and then by the time he got down to like 10 to 1, 8 to 1, I never got in on it. But my guy had one. That
is the greatest thing the casinos have going for them, is to create this illusion that somebody could be it, and then they get all this money, and then they lower it, and then they get people to promote. You know, Tua is 6-1. Oh my God, he's 6-1 to be the MVP. If you just watch the games, there's no chance. But Tua is 6-1. Oh my God, he's 6-1. He can be MVP. He's the greatest player of all time. I've never seen anybody like this before. And then they get all this money in on Tua, and then he has a shit day like he did yesterday. You know, and everybody's, oh, well, he's not MVP anymore. I mean, it's the greatest scam of all. You know, it's like, it's like the executive game in The Sopranos. Just come on in. We'll let you borrow some money, and before you know it, you'll be like, you'll be like the guy who ran the sporting goods store. You'll be busted out, Davey. You'll be busted out. I mean, it's the greatest scam of all. But anyway, I didn't want to go there, but I can't help myself.
I know you were foaming at the mouth, ready to go on to.
I mean, it's a joke. You know. Can I tell you something? The first play of the game. Okay, before we get on Garappolo, the first play of the game, they motion Tyreek Hill across to almost, and he gets outside, and the 49ers react to him like, oh my God, it's a bank robber. We got to make sure we get him before he gets out of the building, right? And Sheffield just goes up the seam for just a little bit because nobody covers him. He throws an 8-yard pass that goes for 75 yards. That's Tyreek Hill that made that play. That's Hill. That's why he's the MVP of their team. It's not Tua. Because if you took him out of the equation, nobody would run like that. Nobody would ever run like that. So to me, that play was so symbolic of why Hill is such a great player. And people fear him. It's fear. They ran to him. And then all of a sudden, Sheffield's wide open in the seam, and he goes 75 yards. And next thing you know, Tua MVP. Better double down. You better double down, Femi. I'm just telling you. Now,
Tua was bad yesterday. There's no excuse or no bones about it. His QBR was 19.3 out of 100. He was bad. He missed a ton of throws. But also, in fairness to him, he was both missing his 2 starting tackles, Teron Armstead and Austin Jackson. Those guys were both out.
I'm just telling you, when you make Tua have to rush, when you make him have to play faster, and he can't set his feet and check the runners at first and third, and you pressure him inside and you're fast and he's worried about it, you know, I was surprised he got through the game. I thought he would get hurt. Now, he was limping a little bit, and at the end he didn't finish the game. But I actually thought they did a better job protecting him in that game. I thought McDaniels did a really good job of getting the ball out of his hands as fast as he could. I really did. I mean, it's just, that's a hard team to play, right? That's a really hard team to play. And they did a nice job, and he missed, because he had a rush, he missed a lot of throws. But, look, let's not kill the main story. It's Jimmy G, right? I mean, Jimmy G.
100%.
I mean, look, the guy has had a hard time staying durable. But I think, to me, when you look over the history of the NFL and you look over what has to occur to win a Super Bowl, the 49ers still have that ability. Now, it's not going to be easy, make no mistake about it. And Brock Purdy, even though he started 46 games at Iowa State, has his limitations. But I will say this, they have a great defense. They've got to really be great in the kicking game. They've got to control field position, because when you have a backup quarterback, you want to play on a short field. You don't want to go 95 yards. You don't want to be in a lot of third downs. And they have enough skill players around them that he can pitch and catch it, where he can just throw it out there, and all of a sudden it can become one of those Tua plays, throw it 8 yards, go 75. So I don't think all is lost. I will say this, and I'd love to hear your reaction. I watched Josh Johnson. Now, Josh Johnson's a fascinating background. He's an Oakland kid. Jim Harbaugh, I could still remember sitting in the bleachers talking to the captain about he was going to take this job at the University of San Diego, and I'm telling him, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. We're at Piedmont High School watching our 2 sons play high school football. And I'm telling him, you can't take that job. It's too hard. That's going to be impossible. He said, Walsh told you, he told me, he's told everybody, you want to be a head coach, go be a head coach. Okay, he takes it. He takes Josh Johnson from Oakland down with him, and they build a program down there. And so this kid's bounced around the league 1,000 places. But this summer in Denver, in looking back on it, I think he was the best quarterback on Denver's team. Now, I'm not saying he's going to lead them to a Super Bowl. I'm not saying he's going to be great. I'm just saying this kid is experienced, and he could come in there, and if Purdy struggles, he could go over and lead the team, and the team will rally to him. Remember, in 1972, an old Earl Morrall took over for Bob Greasy, and they stayed undefeated because the Miami Dolphins of 72 had great defense, cooking game, and they ran the ball. Okay, that was their formula. They beat the Washington Redskins 14-7 in a Super Bowl. Let's go to 1986 or is it 1989 when Jeff Hostetler has to take over for Phil Simms, right? And that was about defense, that was about the running game, that was about managing the game. It's there. Now you could say, well, Nick Folk did the same thing. Well, Nick Folk replaced an MVP candidate in Carson Wentz. That offense had to change a little bit, and eventually it did. But they won because of Foles making plays. But I think at the end of the day, this doesn't eliminate the 49ers.
Yeah, that's interesting because yesterday Purdy, 25 of 37, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. He provides a little bit more mobility than Jimmy Garappolo. He's more athletic than he is, but the throwing, you could see the limitations there. But you think that they can still keep this ship afloat? A 7th-round pick. He was Mr. Irrelevant, no longer irrelevant now that he's the starter of a team that has championship aspirations here. Were you impressed by what you saw from Purdy in relief duty yesterday?
I thought he had his moments. He probably didn't get a lot of reps, but I thought he made some plays. He moved the ball. He doesn't throw the ball with great velocity. And I think as the year goes, as the games go on, people are going to play him differently, right? He's going to get played in a different manner, and he's going to have to prove he can make throws. But he made some really accurate throws, and their offense is good. They can run the ball. If they get the ball into these receivers' hands in the middle of the field, which they want to do, and he doesn't turn it over, they're going to be okay. Look, it's hard to score on them, right? It's hard to make plays on them. It's hard to consistently drive the ball down the field on that defense. And, they're going to play – and they're never going to be not attached to the game. They're always going to be in the game. And I just think, to me, if they can get that and they get their running game going, they got a chance. Look, Jimmy, they won a playoff game against Minnesota. What did Jimmy throw it 10 times in that game?
Yeah. It was the game against Green Bay, I believe. Yeah, the NFC title game against Green Bay. I think he was like 8 of 11 or something like that.
But I don't think the Minnesota game he threw it very much in that game either.
Yeah, both of those games.
I mean, everybody, all that Jimmy G haters were saying, hey, look, they're winning because they didn't throw the ball to Jimmy G. I mean, look. You got to manage. You have to manage Jimmy G. You got to manage Garoppolo. You have to manage Purdy. You got to manage Tua, even though he's the MVP with your ticket. But you have to be able to manage them, and they've got to run the ball. And yesterday they were able to do that. And I mean, look, when Garoppolo went out, they were down 7. They were down 7-0.
They definitely were. Yeah, for the record, in that game against the Vikings, Jimmy G was 11 of 19. For 131. Then it's Green Bay, he was 6 of 8 for 77 yards in the NFC Championship game. They won the game 37-20. So it was running the football and playing good defense, something that they've been doing so far this season as well. As for Jimmy G, though, and we'll have more time to talk about this as we get into the offseason, but what do you think is next for him? Because early Sunday morning there were the reports about the Niners maybe open to bringing him back in 2023, but now he's going to go through another offseason having to rehab from surgery.
Well, I think the foot surgery won't be as hard as the back surgery that he went through. I think, look, whoever signs Jimmy G in the offseason is going to do it with a contract that's going to have incentives if he can stay healthy. I mean, durability has been his biggest issue, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy through his entire career. So, would he go with the 49ers and back up Trey Lance? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the fact that they're interested in bringing him back tells you all you need to know. Like, where would they be without this, right? How about those draft picks that they gave away for Lance? Where would they be if they had those? I mean, could you imagine if Brock Purdy leads him to a Super Bowl?
That would be quite the story if that happened.
I mean, it'd be a hell of a Hollywood story.
From Mr. Irrelevant to a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, I mean, look, yesterday they held Miami only had 45 plays in the game. Miami didn't convert a third down in the game. I don't know if the MVP voters are aware of this. They didn't even convert a third down in the game. They're 0 for 7 on third down, right? There was a play out there where there were 12 guys on the field. I think San Francisco had like 13 guys on the field at one time. And Tua wasn't even unaware of it. He didn't even rush to get to snap the ball. He just let him kind of get off the field. When you make him play fast, and I don't know if the Chargers can make him play fast this week coming up, but if he goes into Buffalo, it's going to be a hard game.
Yeah, it was not a good game for Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. They fall to 8-4, no longer at first place in the AFC East. Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, and for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.